Thank you all for coming out here today. It is October 2nd, Wrongful Conviction Day. The purpose of this day is to create awareness of the injustices of wrongful convictions. Bikers for Justice has the mission of helping victims of injustices. And many times, the conversation does not include those victims of wrongful convictions. They are victims that deserve support, just like rape victims, just like murder victims. These people have had their lives destroyed because of perjury, because of misconducts by police officers and judges. It is fitting today that we have this dark cloud over the Luzerne County Courthouse, because this is one of the many courts that have experienced corruption. We know of the Kids for Cash scandal, where judges were taking bribes to send innocent children to detention centers. We've seen the corruption of Children Youth Services that was ignoring claims that put innocent children at risk. The liquor ticket scandal, where we had police officers preying on women during traffic stops. But one of the things that aren't talked about so much is the many wrongful convictions that's happened here in Luzerne County, as well as counties all over Pennsylvania. Today we have some of those victims joining us to share their stories. Our first guest is Jeffrey Descovich. He's not only here to talk with us, but I also consider him a good friend. I met him through my work with Pennsylvania Bikers for Justice, and got to know him very well and found his story very fascinating. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Jeffrey Descovich.
Good afternoon. As Mr. Harris said, my name is Jeffrey Descovich, and I was wrongfully convicted in New York for a murder and rape which I did not commit. I was arrested when I was 16. I turned 17 by the time the trial started, where despite a pre-trial negative DNA test result, I was wrongfully convicted based upon prosecutorial misconduct, fraud by the medical examiner, coerced false confession, terrible public defender. I lost 7 appeals. I got turned down for parole. Ultimately, I was exonerated through DNA testing after 16 years incarceration, testing which identified the actual perpetrator. So my mission in life is to free people who are wrongfully imprisoned and to prevent wrongful conviction from happening in the first place. So I have a nonprofit organization, the Jeffrey Descovich Foundation for Justice, which I started using some of the compensation that I received in neighboring New York. I obtained a master's degree, and I was not content with sitting in the front row of the courtroom, but I wanted to sit at the table. I wanted to make some of the arguments. I wanted to represent some of the clients. So I went to law school, and as I sit here today, I am an attorney. So we're focusing on, and my organization, the Jeffrey Descovich Foundation for Justice, is one of the groups, along with Bikers for Justice and many other organizations in our coalition, Pennsylvania Could Happen to You. And the legislative item that we're focusing in on is compensation. Pennsylvania is one of 12 states that does not compensate people when they're wrongfully imprisoned. So if my case had happened in Pennsylvania, I would not have received anything. That's the situation for the Pennsylvanian exonerees, some of which you're going to hear from today. But reflecting upon my own life once I was exonerated, thinking back to that time period before I had received any compensation, and then thinking about my life now. It took me 5 years before I was compensated. I was released with nothing, as are all exonerees. And while New York State had compensation, there was no reentry services for me. So I lacked stability of housing. I was always passed over for gainful employment, so it was hard to have any income coming in. It seemed like all the would-be employers wanted somebody who had on the job, who could hit the ground running, who had job experience, that was up to speed on the technology which had passed me by in the course of my 16 years of wrongful imprisonment. GPS, cell phone, internet, even the variation of Windows was not even created before I was wrongfully imprisoned. So I was always passed over for that employment. I lacked stability of housing. At one point, I was a couple of weeks away from being in a homeless shelter. I couldn't afford to hire any mental health professionals in helping me deal with the psychological after effects of my experience. So it was really a nightmare. I really went from one horrific situation, being wrongfully imprisoned, to another situation which was very, very different than the idealized life I imagined that I was going to be coming home to. And I lived like that, hand to mouth. I wasn't even an employee. The one job I did have making money, I was just on a 1099 basis. I had to run a deficit with the IRS. I couldn't afford to pay taxes. Often my car stayed parked. I had no money to put for the gasoline. When I was finally compensated after 5 years, I was able to finally I was able to pay for some treatment. I didn't have to worry whether or not I was going to be be possibility of facing eviction. I knew I could pay my bills. I was able to feel confident. I was able to feel like a man. Something that I hadn't been able to feel during those 5 years without compensation. I was able to use some of the money to pay for getting a master's degree so that I could be a more effective advocate. And I used some of the money to not just start the organization, but also go to law school. So I was able to do some really good things. And I have a large body of work, and I do advocacy, not just in New York, but here in Pennsylvania and California. But my point is that none of that would be possible if I hadn't received the compensation. So I empathize, I understand what it is to not have compensation. And that's the reason why I'm here. It's the reason why I'm here in Pennsylvania. It's the reason why I'm here today. And we're going to do everything we can to pass compensation here in Pennsylvania. Myself and colleagues, we've been meeting with elected officials, talking about the idea. We're starting to get some buy-in. There's a lot more work to happen. But I feel confident that with a statewide coalition, with many organizations working together, that we're going to get this done. And I look at today as an important step of many events that have to happen, many trips to the legislature, many tactics to get this bill passed. But we're going to do it. We're not going to quit. We're not going to give up. We're going to continue to work together, collaborating like we're doing. That's the way to go. The era of go it alone is over with. That wasn't all that effective anyway. And I'm happy to be standing here, at this event, sponsored by my foundation, sponsored by Pennsylvania Could Happen to You, but organized by Bikers for Justice. And I love the support that we get, and you all walk the halls with us in Harrisburg as we meet with elected officials, and can't say enough about the group. And thank you all for coming here today, and I'm going to take my leave. Thank you.
Let's hear it for Attorney Jeff Deskovich. It's truly an honor to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here, Jeff, and thank you for everything you're doing when it comes to the victims of wrongful convictions. Hi everyone, I'm Crystal Mullen. I'm the Northeastern Region Pennsylvania Bikers for Justice Vice President. We are here today on October 2nd for our Wrongful Conviction Day. We're here to create awareness of the injustices of the wrongful convictions in Pennsylvania. And wrongful convictions have destroyed the lives of many people, many innocent people in Pennsylvania. They were taken away from their friends, their family, robbed years of their lives. And today we're going to hear from our next guest, which is many of the people in Pennsylvania who experienced the horrors of wrongful conviction. And I'm very pleased to introduce Larry Trent Roberts.
How's everybody doing? My name is Larry Trent Roberts from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Dauphin County. I was wrongfully convicted. Can everybody hear me? Mm-hmm. All right. My name is Larry Trent Roberts. I'm from Dauphin County, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I was wrongfully convicted. I was sentenced to life without parole. I served 13 years and 8 months before I was exonerated. Being wrongfully convicted, you lose a lot. Family members, friendships, relationships. And then when you get out, it's like there's nothing in place for you. If you get a conviction and you come home, there's halfway houses, there's health care, there's a lot of things in place for you. But if you're innocent, you come home, there's nothing in place. So this is, like I always say, it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's just simple. Pennsylvania residents that lose their liberty, that get wrongfully convicted, do you believe that we deserve to be compensated? It's yes or no. Getting out and living without compensation, it's rough. You know, when you come home, you got to find a job. Most of us don't have a license. So if you don't have a license, you're most likely not going to get hired because you need a license to get to the job. So you have to get a license. You have to start all over. And it's like there's nobody to actually help you. So when you apply for these jobs, they're more likely to give them to somebody that's been out here without the record than you. And it's rough because everything that I worked for, that I've accumulated over the years, I lost. And to come home and to start over again after losing family members, friendships, relationships, credit's bad. You know, it's businesses. I lost businesses. Prior to going in, I would like to say that I was successful. I had a car lot, inspections, emissions, tow trucks, 3-4 acres. I lost it all to a wrongful conviction. And when I come home, I get nothing for that. And I just had to come home and try to put my life back together again. And it was hard. I mean, I'm still, every day, I'm still learning every day. Things like a cell phone. You know, I didn't know how to work a cell phone. I was afraid of people when I came home, you know, because jail does a lot to you mentally, you know, so that's just some of the things. I mean, I could probably stay here for hours and go on and go on and go on because I know I can't get it all out right now, but that's just some of the things that you go through. And yeah, I believe that we probably shouldn't get everything, but we deserve something. You know, everybody deserves something that gets wrongfully convicted. You know, so that's pretty much all I have to say.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Let's all thank Larry and Terry and Robert for being here today. We are truly grateful for your courage and all that you've been doing to create awareness of wrongful conviction. Thank you so much. Hello everybody, my name is Jacob O'Hayan, the Northeastern Region President of the Bacchus for Justice. I'm so happy that you all came to join us today in supporting victims of wrongful conviction. I can't even imagine how painful it is to be sent to prison for crime that we didn't commit. But our next guest experienced that pain at firsthand, has come here today to tell us about it. Please welcome Terrell King.
Good afternoon. Jeff, how you doing? Good to see you again. Glad you can see you. So my name is Tremaine Hicks. Right? I'm from Philadelphia. I served 19 plus years, almost 2 decades of a wrongful conviction. I was shot 3 times in my back by a Philadelphia police officer trying to help a woman that I did not know. And they covered it up. And 20 cops testified against me. They planted the gun. It was registered to a Philadelphia police officer. It wasn't reported stolen until the day after I was shot. And it took 20 years to finally get me exonerated. I've been home on the 16th of this month will be 22 months. You know, this is all still new to me. This is still surreal. The New York Innocence Project is the organization that secured my exoneration. It was a thrilling event, and like Larry, when you go to jail, and Jeff, when you go to jail wrongfully, you lose everything. Your whole life is just uprooted, you're turned upside down, and you're just trying to weather that storm of how the hell did I get here under a wrongful conviction? And then you got to figure out how I'm gonna get up out of there. And then once you get home, you got to get reacclimated once again. Pennsylvania, as you know, don't offer any type of compensation for men or women that were wrongfully convicted and then thrusted back out in society. So the hardship of your family is placed back on them again once you come home. You know, they were supporting you all those years of your wrongful conviction, and now they support you again once you get from under that wrongful conviction. And it's definitely a struggle. It's definitely a fight. But I am encouraged, and and I do believe that PA will eventually do the right thing. But until then, you got to serve. You got to bring awareness, and you got to just put these people under the microscope, because this is where they belong. This is unconscionable that that this happened to me, to Larry, to Jeff, and to the many other men and women that are suffering from it in Pennsylvania and across this country. Since I've been home, I've founded an organization to step up. Selfless thinking expresses potential that uplifts people. While I was incarcerated, to weather the time that I was serving unjustly, developed a talent for writing. I took up playwriting. I developed dozens of plays over the years. And while I was incarcerated, I seen that the population of men that was coming through the penitentiary were younger and younger. Most of them were guilty for the crimes they committed. Some of them said that they were innocent. I had no idea of knowing what was what. But nonetheless, I wanted to teach the younger generation critical thinking and conflict resolution. So what I did was started taking my play skill to writing short educational scripts and teaching critical thinking and conflict resolution. Since I've been home in 22 months, I produced 2 of them plays. Step Up to help curb gun violence, and Step Up and Say No to Bullies, because we know bullying leads to gun violence. So this is what I've been doing since I've been home. This is how I've been able to generate some funds and bring awareness and just to teach the younger generation about the ills of going to prison. And my goal is eventually to start closing down some of these penitentiaries in Pennsylvania. We know that I believe it's about 29 or 30 in PA just alone, which is asinine, I did the bulk of my time at Gravesford, which I now know is closed, and it's Phoenix. And it is horrible, it's just horrible, the experience of it all. And but I'm grateful and thankful to being here, and I'm grateful and thankful to Jeff for inviting me, and I'll be around momentarily. I guess that's all.
Could you speak a little bit about, as a Pennsylvanian, what is it like living without compensation? Could you discuss something about that, please?
It's tough. I have no fun. I have no money. The money that I receive is from complete strangers who welcomed me home back on December 16th, 2020, man. And I'm, dwindling through that. So when you come home and you have nothing, you need money to survive. You need sustenance. You need housing. You need clothing. The list just goes on and on. And when you don't have that, unfortunately, and I'm talking to a lot of exonerees, not just from Pennsylvania, but from around the country, but more so Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. They're struggling because unlike them, myself, I have family and friends. They're on their own. They're thrusted out in there, and they're staying up in hotels, and they're scrambling, man. And we need help. We need support. We need some type of coalition of, just a network where we can depend and count upon one another, because it's just that hard and just that terrible.
Let's hear it for Jermaine Hicks. Jermaine, your story has shed so much light on how harmful wrongful convictions are. Thank you so much for coming here today. I'm Mickey Reynolds, the Northeastern Region Captain of Pennsylvania Bikers for Justice. As a volunteer who helps victims of injustices, some of the most horrifying cases I've encountered have been the injustices suffered by victims of wrongful conviction. And we will now hear from Bill Ayers, Pennsylvania Bikers for Justice State President.
Let's give a big hand of applause for our guest speaker. It's so great about to come here and this story with us. Thank you all so much. Thank you very much. Wrongful convictions is just not talked about enough. One day of creating awareness is not nearly enough. This needs to be talked about every day. And these guys that are working hard to advocate for victims of wrongful convictions need our help, need the help of every one of us, our friends, our family. And how we can help them is contacting our legislators, our state representatives, and our senators. Unfortunately, the enemy to victims of wrongful convictions in Pennsylvania is our legislators. The legislators are the ones who are not recognizing the problems and laws and policies that have created the hardships that these people are suffering after already having years of their lives stripped away. These legislators aren't recognizing the harms that their families are experiencing. These legislators are the enemy to these victims, and they need to be informed that what they're doing is wrong. They need to do something to correct these injustices. If anyone needs help contacting our state senator, state representative, they can reach out to Pennsylvania Bikers for Justice, and we can help you with getting in touch with them through an email, through a phone call, through snail mail, an office visit, whatever you would like to do. But I'd like to thank you all very much for coming. I hope to see you joining us in this fight to help the victims of wrongful convictions, and hope to, someday see those changes happen. So thank you all very much for coming. Now we're going to head down to the Brick House for a late lunch and a couple of drinks. Everybody feel free to join us. And also, if anyone wants to stick around for picture taking or anything like that, I think we're going to do some pictures. So if you guys want to come in, be in a big group picture, we're going to be doing that. And if you'd also like to talk to the exonerees, ask them any questions, or just thank them for coming. All right, thanks again.